Dr. Charlene Prather is a gastroenterologist and associate professor of internal medicine at St. Louis University. She understands why diagnosing irritable bowel syndrome may be difficult.
Physicians really like to make specific diagnoses that they feel very comfortable with. For instance, if there's a problem with the heart, they may see an EKG abnormality, or there might be a chest x-ray abnormality. We don't have a diagnostic test that tells us that someone has IBS. So there are many physicians and other practitioners who just aren't comfortable with making the diagnosis.
Not only are there no precise tests that can pinpoint the existence of IBS, but its cause and symptoms may vary with each person as well.
Okay.
What causes IBS? That is something that is still being investigated. Now, we do know there are different things that influence this development of symptoms in irritable bowel syndrome. Certainly, there are some individuals who notice that stress will increase their IBS. For other people, it's a certain food that they might eat. I don't really believe that stress or foods cause IBS, but they tend to exacerbate an underlying condition.
IBS is believed to stem from abnormalities of the so-called gut area of our internal organs. This area consists of muscle and nerves and controls how our food moves through our digestive process. Problems at the nerve level here can be affected by IBS, causing great discomfort or pain.
Now, we certainly don't have this all figured out. However, we have identified abnormalities in serotonin in some IBS patients. And this is important. This is a new finding.
Daphne Fox of St. Louis is a former music teacher and lifelong educator who enjoys working in her garden and collecting antiques. Daphne was experiencing nausea and stomach problems. It took more than a year to get properly diagnosed. Irritable bowel syndrome typically affects women from their late teens to their mid-40s. Since Daphne was outside of that range when her symptoms occurred, doctors needed to rule out more serious illness.
I went to a gastroenterologist whom I really like, who had helped me with very minor things, and he's the one who began to think it was cancer. He thought it was colon cancer, and did several tests and found out that that wasn't what it was, and then sent me to a pancreatic specialist because they began to believe that it was pancreatic cancer.
Okay. These are your electrolytes, which look quite good.
Oh, that's good, isn't it?
Of course,
okay.
Yes.
Fortunately for Daphne, her diagnosis of IBS is not life-threatening. But the illness itself can be life-altering.
I couldn't leave the house for days because of that. It changes one's life totally.
With irritable bowel syndrome, there are different presentations that patients may have. There are some patients who may have a diarrhea predominant sort of symptom pattern. For instance, when these individuals eat, they may have to rush to the bathroom right away. There's another group of individuals that have great difficulty in even having a bowel movement. We call this a constipation predominant group of irritable bowel syndrome. And then there's another group of individuals that really alternate between the two. They may have a period where they're constipated, and then suddenly they have diarrhea that they just can't stop.
Maria Lynch began experiencing the typical symptoms of IBS 20 years ago.
When I was a teenager, I had a lot of stomach aches, but I really didn't know it was a problem. I just thought it was my nerves, basically. Nervous stomach, starting high school.
Through high school and into college, she also learned to deal with the consequences of IBS.
When I was in college, we'd go out to nightclubs. If I had a stomach ache, I'd be gone for like an hour, and my girlfriends would be like, "Did you meet someone?" I said, "No."
As Maria grew older, life became more stressful, which made her condition even worse.
I went to the ER twice in the last 10 years for stomach pains that turned out to be what they said was just gas. They made me feel silly when they said it was gas, pretty much like, you're overreacting, but at the time, it was like you could barely walk.
As Maria's problem persisted, she continued to search for a cause. At the age of 40, she had a complete physical examination and finally was told that she did, in fact, have more than just a problem with gas.
I am so happy to know that it was not in my head, and to know that you know, changing the lifestyle can avoid these stomach aches, that now it's just become incorporated into my life, that I avoid the things that will cause it.
As both Maria and Daphne discovered, once IBS has been diagnosed, there are several options to help them manage their condition.
Understanding and learning more about your condition and what you have at your disposal to control these symptoms, a combination of medicines, but also other healthy living strategies, really can help you manage your IBS much more effectively.
The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists notes that IBS may be responsible for almost half of all cases of chronic pelvic pain. So to receive proper diagnosis and the most effective treatment, communication between doctor and patient is key.
Being an advocate for your own health, definitely speak to your doctor. Tell them what you suspect. Tell them everything, because they can't help you without information.
You will get better. You can have a life, but not if you're sitting at home doing nothing to try to make it better.